Alright guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be teaching and giving back to you about how to drift. Drifting is super fun. I love it. I do it loads. And yeah, I just give it back to you. I know a few people have asked in the comments. So today I've got a camera set up, which you can't see now, but you'll see in a second. And it's going to show you my wheel. Because to be honest, the wheel bit's harder. I know a lot of people say you have to do it with your pedals. But the pedals is easier to imagine than actually see, because it just is. But first, we need to choose our car and track. So what I'd recommend for drifting, if you're in a game which is designed for drifting, so that includes Forza, Assetto Corsa, there's absolutely loads. I would avoid games like Crew Motorfest and I would say BeamNG. Sometimes it's alright. There's a lot of games, but I would definitely research and try. But start off with your car. If you're in Forza, say, you can easily make your own. A lot of games you can't, so I'm going to go with one. If you're on both Assetto Corsas, so PC or console, I'm going to go with the AE86 to start off with. Because if the car says drift in the name, normally you'll be alright. You see it says drift. Basically just means don't mess with it, right? And then track-wise, because you're using the cars designed for drifting, I find a drift track or something with lots of open corners. You can see these 3 drift tracks. Whereas if you go somewhere you can't drift there, right? It's sort of similar with Interlagos. You can see it's just not flowy. Monza's definitely not. Magione, I don't know how to say it, is sort of better. So I'm going to start with something quite wide, just so it's easier for me to talk. So that's going to be the drift. But yeah, when you're using a car, I'd recommend rear-wheel drive. Because if you think, all-wheel drive, I know you might see people like Ken Block, RIP, who was actually goated and would just rip the handbrake in his all-wheel drive car. And that's just something you don't really want to do. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd do a rear-wheel drive, front or rear engine, doesn't matter. And then there's horsepower. So to start off with, I'd go from 300 to 500. As you get better, 500 to 700. And once you get precise, anything above really. Formula drift cars, it's also very, very good to watch. So if you're watching hand movements of actual professionals, it's just going to help you massively, right? So go watch some Formula Drift videos, because I promise it will help. That's what I definitely did. Watch their hands and how they control the wheel. And yeah, it will just help. But I can now turn my camera on. Sorry, I've got the wheel in focus now, right? Because that's why my hands look really pale. But I promise they're not. So to start off with, when you're trying to engage a drift, yeah, what you need to do is you need to rotate the car. So when I say rotate the car, I mean engage the slide. So whether that's using the handbrakes, clutch kick, or using the accelerator. So if you have a good drift car, the one thing I'd say to see is when you accelerate, I would say, let me go straight. Once you accelerate and turn in a little bit, the car should just naturally slide. And if you spin out like this, or not like that, if you spin out, because the car starts sliding, just like this, oversteer is what it is. If you spin out like that, there's no problem. That means that you've engaged your drift. There's 3 ways to engage your drift. There are just accelerating and turning and engaging the slides, right? Using the handbrake, which I try not to use personally, because using the handbrake sort of just means that you can never get it at the perfect angle. It's hard to explain. But you rip the handbrake, you only tap it down, and sometimes the car over-rotates. But you're engaging a drift, and that is what is important. You are getting into that position where the car starts sliding. But a better example of how to use that handbrake is like this. Sort of just used a lot of the pedal, and the handbrakes help me just properly engage that drift. And you sort of have to turn in as you do it, direct the car. But there we go. And the third option is only really good if you have a clutch, and you can see there's a blue bar where my pedal thing is: accelerator, brake, clutch. Right, this is if you're in a manual car, and basically when you press the clutch and the accelerator, it just revs. It's like you're in neutral, right? It does the exact same thing, but in this case, 1 second. So what you want to do is as you approach the corner, right, you want to accelerate in, clutch, get to max revs, and it should take you, right? That's a bad example. of how not to do it. But you can see that when you go clutch, it takes its max revs, and then your wheels are spinning, which engages the drift quite nicely. I would rather use the handbrake than clutch kick, but it is quite useful if you need to go to max revs, and it has come in handy before. But really, I would just use the accelerator to engage and just let it slide naturally. I would say for like proper Formula Drift cars, which are like 1,000 horsepower plus, the handbrake, yes, it is much more horsepower, much more useful, because you have so much like power, you can just keep sliding forever, and then when you need to transition, the handbrake lets you rotate very, very nicely. Now, if you are watching this point in the video, you can see that I am not on the best wheel in the world. I'm on a Logitech G923, and I have Fanatec CSL pedals, which I've upgraded, and soon enough I'll be using the Fanatec DD, which I can see is right down there, but I need a wheel and some flight nuts. But it just shows that you don't actually need like the most insane wheel possible, and yeah, it's quite good. But then once you've sort of learnt to engage your drift, and I know what's going to be happening is some people are going to be going like this, and then it's going to happen exactly like that, and it happens to everyone. When you engage a drift, right, once you've started a drift, you need to counter steer. That is when you're going into a drift, you're literally sideways, and at this point you're going to have to watch the camera. You're literally sideways, you're in, you started sliding like this, and then you counter steer, because the car's going to want to do that anyway. The wheel is naturally going to go the opposite way to the drift, and you try and find the biting point where the car is just very nicely sliding along. No matter if you're sliding like that, or even if the back is in front and the front. It doesn't matter, you just need to find that biting point. So if I show you now, the biting point I would say is like, you've engaged, and you see how the wheel's just naturally rotating back, and yeah, it's sort of hard to explain. So what I'm trying to say, right, is the wheel goes the other way, and you want to find a position where you can sort of just hold it in one position, or just very slightly adjust it, just like that. Because if you're driving all with the wheel, and you're just absolutely just going like this, and just throwing the wheel around, it's so much less precise, and it is not great. I know a lot of people say drift or steer with your feet, and in some sense they are right, but at the same time that wheel does need to flow. You see how I'm sort of just engaging, and then I'm finding that bite point and slowly letting the wheel go through my hands, and then I'm going to stop it, and then once I've got it in that sort of 90 degrees of correct position, I can then use my accelerator to judge the angle of the drift. So you can see here, or not here, next corner I'll show you, I'm going to keep my wheel in one position, I'm going to engage, right, let the wheel spin, find that position, and then sort of just using the accelerator pedal and only slightly adjusting that steering wheel. This means that you can be more precise, and you don't have to really concentrate on doing two things at once. And really, force feedback is a huge help here. You could have 1 Newton meter, you could have 25, right? You just need to catch it at the right point, bosh, and then sort of just move very slightly like this, try and like balance it, and then use the accelerator to turn. And this takes a lot of practice. I, of course, as like everyone, as a child, I was very much disheartened by not being able to drift, right? I got a wheel, bosh, no drifting anymore. Controller is sort of the same, counter steering using the accelerator. But yeah, that's the like proper basics. And then you sort of come into transitions, where again, that is not what you're meant to do. As you come, so let's say you just finished the drift, you've literally beautifully gone like this, and then the transition, it's like just starting another corner, right? You need to flick the wheel back, because the chances are the corner's going the other way. So this car's tyre wear is now terrible, it's so slippy. You can see that I need to go left here, so I'll turn the wheel left, and then again counter steering, and that's a really bad example. But I'm going to swap cars now, because this next car is a mod, and you can't mod unless you're on PC. We can go down here. Now this car will make me look like a pro, because it's got the higher amounts of horsepower. That E86, I don't specifically know what horsepower it had, but I would say anywhere from 300 to 500, which I know is a lot. But this car has upwards of 1,000. But this will give you a good a good sort of view of what my hands are doing. So you can see the wheel's just rotating, and I'm getting crazy angles here. But as soon as I catch that drift, I'm trying to keep my wheel in the same position and steer with my foot. I'm still used to just using all of the wheel, like just shoving the car around, just going like this, and then rotating that wheel and going like this, and going like this, and going like this. That's not what you want to do. That is a big no-no. You want to use that accelerator. It's where you get your power from, right? And that's what's going to rotate your car more than anything. It's just being able to catch it, right? And then boom, just transition. It will end up, you'll be thinking, how did I not do this in the first place? But yeah, you can sort of see that my foot isn't even like completely on the throttle. I'm sort of feathering it at the same time. Well, not there. But if you're over rotating, that's probably because you're using too much throttle. But you can always save it with the brake. And the brake's another good option to rotate your car. So let's say you're in a transition, you're coming out of a drift, you flick the other way, the car's still drifting like this, but if you use the brake, the car will then go that way. So I'll give you an example of that now. So the car's on, I've sort of helped it rotate, the brakes just let the car reset almost. But yeah, that's like the main thing I would say. Also the correct gear. There's no point drifting in 6th gear. See, in this car, 1st gear, unless you got to 40 miles an hour, right? There's no chance I'm drifting like that, especially in max revs. The 2nd gear in this car is pretty good. Even 3rd gear is probably quite possible, but this is quite a low gear track. But yeah, you can see like there, perfect example where I barely moved the wheel. I was just using my foot the whole time, and there's a point where I rotated. So yeah, it does take a lot of practice, and what I would recommend doing first is just trying some donuts out. They sort of teach you how to counter steer, and you can even see, look here, one-handed, how go it with mine. That's all it is. It's mostly your foot. So really, the wheel rotation is minimal. I can keep this wheel like, not like that at all. I can keep this wheel in a very within 90 degrees of rotation.
Emotional damage!
Yeah, I'd recommend using 2 hands. But yeah, like I said before, a good place to always start are donuts. Donuts sort of teach you how to control and maintain drift. It sort of teaches you precision as well, because a lot of people, it's really hard to sense what speed you're going, because steering, handbrake, shifter, pedals, that's like 4 things to concentrate on, and looking at your speed's another thing. So you sort of have to predict it. Even if you go slower into a corner, it's just much better. But you can see here, I don't know why I crashed there. You can sort of just not move the wheel at all. Look, I'm actually not moving the wheel, and yeah, maybe sometimes here, but for a majority of it, for a good 270 degrees, I'm just using the pedal. And look, my wheel hand is in the same position the whole time. That's how just easy it is just to do well. And then as you come out, yeah, it's hard to explain and it's hard to realise, but it's sort of as you come out of a corner, say you're in an F1 car, then I'm trying to think of a good place where you spin in F1 as you come out of an apex. I can't lie, final corners, the final left-hander of Baku, as you come out on that curb, and you can just absolutely just go like this, and then you spun. Well, that's not a good example, I should have been a second. But if you know what I'm talking about, that curb is deadly. But it's sort of like that, so you're on second, and then bosh, you spun, right? And then, yeah, it's not good. But if you have learned to go like this, go on left, and then rotate yourself back straight, that is basically what you're doing, but on purpose, right? And I'm probably waffling at this point and you want to see some drifting. But yeah, there is just a lot of aspects to it, and practice is the main thing. And like I said before, watching Formula Drift is a crazy good thing to do, because you actually see how people are rotating cars. And try and find, there are plenty of people drifting on the streets of Japan, New York, wherever, that obviously don't do it in real life, but it will teach you how to drift. And yeah, even in films like Fast and Furious, Choco Drift. They do some awesome drifting there, and I'm sure there are some scenes that will really help. So don't be disheartened, I'd say, 100%, because it does take a while. You can't instantly know. So I'm pretty sure you didn't instantly know how to drive on your sim or on F1 on your controller. It's just absolutely useless, and I was too. But it's just practice, 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 and it's going to be boring because that's probably what everybody else says. But yeah, I tried like going into detail today about what it was. So you didn't just get the same thing over and over again. But yeah, they are sort of like 5-ish tips to help you, and I really hope this helped. Feel free to comment down below. I would love to help you. Don't be afraid to ask either, especially if you have YouTube Premium and you just comment, right? Don't be afraid to ask. There's plenty of places, and be patient as well. You're never going to get it first try. Well, for now, I really hope this helped. I hope people now learn to drift, and if you have, put it down in the comments. But for now, yeah, have a fantastic day. Like, subscribe, comment, I will answer. Very appreciative. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day again.